Thank you very much. Okay, next item, apologies for absence. There are 4 apologies from Anita Forsyth, Fiona Wyatt, Peter and Sally Borden, Sandra and Neil Foster, objectors. And they are appendices 7, 10, 11. The next item is declaration of interests. I have no interest to declare. Councillor Gravis and Councillor Coles.
None for me, Chair.
Okay, so if I can ask for introductions, please, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm Marcus Cravis. I'm Councillor for Dunster Division.
I'm Councillor Simon Coles. I'm Councillor for Chorlton East Division.
And I'm Councillor Connor Payne for the Chard South Division. If our lead officer can introduce himself.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Phil Wake and I'm a licensing officer here at Somerset Council.
And our legal advisor.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Leslie Dolan. I'm one of the council's in-house lawyers, and my role here this afternoon is to provide legal advice and assistance to the panel members.
And if our applicants can introduce themselves, thank you.
Joanna Stimson, Director at Street Football Club. And I'm Holly Culliford. I'm the team leader of Bar 1880 Football Club.
Thank you. And our objectors, please.
Adrian Williams, resident at Street near the football club, and Heather Williams, also resident in the same property.
And Sharon Perry, resident in the road that backs onto the football club.
Do we turn this off now?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. There have been no requests from anyone else. The hearing will take form of a roundtable discussion led by this subcommittee. Is everyone content with that? Yeah, yeah, wonderful. The purpose of the hearing is borne in mind to enable those with the right to appear to amplify your written application and representation, and to assist us as a subcommittee to gather evidence and understand the relevant issues. Can I confirm that all advance papers, including 14 appendices, have been read and received? Yeah. Okay. So just to be clear, all parties should only address the subcommittee in relation to matters they have raised in their application or representation. Any party wishing to submit late evidence and at the hearing will only be able to do so with the consent of all parties present and the consent of the subcommittee. So we are all content with the procedure of the hearing. So there's an oral order of oral presentation. So if the licensing officer can present their report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. An application was submitted for the grant of a premises licence by Street Football Club Committee on the 9th of February 2024. Due to errors with the site notice, the application period restarted on the 15th of February 2024. The application can be found at Appendix 1, the plan can be found at Appendix 2, and proposed conditions from the operating schedule can be found at Appendix 3. The application is for the sale by retail of alcohol, the provision of regular entertainment, and the provision of late night refreshment. The football club holds a current club certificate, but the applicant wishes to obtain a premises licence to allow for greater flexibility with the premises. A comparison between the current certificate and the new application can be found below. The current licence can also be found at Appendix 4. Street Football Club was established in 1880. There is one full-size football pitch with floodlights and stands for supporters. There is a clubhouse with changing rooms, 2 function rooms and a skittle alley. The club has teams ranging from youth teams up to veterans, with the men's first team competing in the Toolstation Western League Premier Division. Reason for referral to a licensing subcommittee. A total of 9 representations have been received from other persons against this application. A note to make in regards to the report is there was an error, as one of the representations wasn't attached as an appendix. However, it was included in Appendix 5 in the overview of representations, so it has been included in the papers. An overview of representations can be found at Appendix 5, and the representations can be found between Appendix 6 and 13. The representations raise concerns in relation to all 4 of the licensing objectives. Relevant observations. No representations have been made by any responsible authority. Legal implications. The Live Music Act 2013 and the Legislative Reform Entertainment Licensing Order 2014. Live and recorded music is deregulated between 0800 and 2300 hours on premises authorised to sell alcohol on the premises, subject to a maximum audience of 500 persons. The licensing authority has the power to remove the exemptions, but only if and when it carries out a formal review of the premises licence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there questions by any parties for the licensing officer? No. Any questions by members for the licensing officer? Councillor Coles,
Not engaged.
Councillor Cravis.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Phil. Couple of things here. Obviously, they've currently got a club license. They're going to change that to a premises license. Apart from any difference in the fact that the membership requirement's gone, is there any other fundamental difference between those licenses, or that's apart from the timings that we see later on?
No, so a club certificate limits it to members and members only. However, a premises license, which is what has been applied for, allows it to be opened up to anyone, any member of the public.
Another question as well. Obviously, I've seen through the representations. I thought I'll ask you first before we have any representations. Complaints. Any history of complaints about the premises to either ourselves or other bodies?
So after completing a check today, so it's freshly up to date, the last complaint was in 2019, but that was in relation to smoke. There was a series of one complaint in 2016 for light pollution, 2015 for light pollution, 2 in 2015 for bonfires, and then the last noise complaint was in 2014, and there was 3 complaints in relation to one event.
Could you repeat a little bit more slowly,
yeah,
because
sorry.
people are making notes. Thank you.
Yeah, so 2019 there was 1 smoke complaint. 2016 there was a light pollution complaint. 2015 a light pollution complaint. 2015 a bonfire complaint, and then another bonfire complaint also in 2015. And then there was 3 noise complaints in 2014 following 1 event.
Okay, thank you. There are no responsible authorities present. So if the objectors would like to present your case, please. Thank you.
Chair, before we start, I have a couple of questions from the licensing officer.
Apologies.
Phil, you mentioned a missing representation. Could you confirm that that is the one that has been submitted by Anita Forsyth?
That is correct, yes.
And also, certainly in my agenda papers, there were 2 Appendix 10s and no Appendix 9. Could you confirm, please, that the Appendix 9 is that received from a Mrs. J. Allen?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
So just to repeat, yeah, there are no responsible authorities present. So if the objectors would like to present their case.
We're live, I take it. I've got one question, and that is regarding, I think it's conditions annex 2, amendment 2. Yep, got it. Oh, I do.
Appendix 2 is a map, if I'm correct. It's Appendix 3, the conditions.
This is annex 2, is it? Annex 2 amendment.
Yeah, so conditions consistent with the operating schedule.
Right, it's the it's at the top of my page. It's the first bit is doors and windows to be kept closed for indoor regulated activities taking place after 11 o'clock. So we're on the same page, are we? Just so we know what we're looking at.
Is that the page from the agenda?
21.
Hmm?
Is that the page from the agenda pack?
I have no idea.
Oh, it's a doors that you made then?
No, it's what I printed out, but I only printed one page.
So
It's on page
for
Page-
21 on the
page
bottom
21.
of this page.
Page 21.
for reference to the subcommittee, that looks like it's page 43, appendix 3, premises license, conditions to be applied for the license schedule N.
Are we okay on that? Are we know where we are? She can't find it. Oh, I didn't write it.
So you printed this from the internet, or is this your representation that you submitted?
This is from, I can
Council
find it on the
website?
phone if you want. It'll probably be
Well,
on my
I've got it on
phone.
my screen. The agenda here. Just the
Yeah.
agenda.
It's,
So with
there, look, it's this, it's what we were sent. And I think it's in here. I mean, I don't know. It's what's sent with Phil Wake sent it to me.
Oh, it's the notice then. It's from the notice.
Yeah, but it also says, agenda will be sent to us.
what is that?
Anyway. you'll
So,
know it's in there.
Appendix 3, at the bottom of that page, part 5, doors and windows to be kept closed for indoor regulated activities taking place
Yes,
after
that's the
2300
bit.
hours.
That's correct. What
Right,
page is that? 1 minute?
that's on page 43 for the subcommittee.
So it's the third paragraph after that. And it's regarding noise and music from entertainment events shall not be audible within any noise sensitive premises at any time. Yeah? Does that refer to any noise or indoor and outdoor noise? Which is it? Because it doesn't say on here, it just refers to noise.
If it's outdoor noise, isn't it? Means they
Yeah,
can't
I'll take that one. So
11, doesn't it?
from my, so environmental protection, they would deal with any noise complaints and they would deem a property to be noise sensitive.
No, I'm referring to this on here. I need you to explain it.
That they should be indoors.
So it refers, so
Yes.
noise from music and entertainment events should not be audible within any noise sensitive premises at any time. I think what would be good to clarify is what a noise sensitive premise is.
And also, following on from that, if it's from within our property, does that mean when the windows are shut, or in the summer, can we have the windows open and then not to expect any audible noise to come in? Because that's quite important. It's no good for us to have a summer when we want to sit out in the garden or even sit indoors with the windows open if we got noise from external sources coming in, wherever they may be from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so with a noise sensitive property or premises, this would be in relation to an environmental health complaint. So if you've made a complaint in the past and they have deemed your property to be noise sensitive, then this is where that condition would be relevant, as any music or entertainment from this premises.
No, I'm referring to what it actually says in black and white. You've put it in there. We haven't put it in there, and I'm questioning what you've put.
So
And
this
that's
is
what I'm
from,
asking an answer from. It's not to do with environmental health. It's what you've put into the licensing application.
so this is what the applicant would have put into the application, and then this has been taken from their operating
Well,
schedule.
can we ask the applicant what they mean by that? Because I have to address the bench.
We will get onto the stage of when questions can be asked of the applicant at a
Right,
later stage.
Okay, so can I move to the next bit now?
Yes, please. if
Thank
will.
you. We've objected primarily, as you will see from our representation, primarily on noise from music outside the club, in the club area, like the football ground area. We don't think it's right. We don't think it's proper. We don't think it's fair to have noise from loudspeakers, live music outside when we're within 100 yards of the property. And we're not the only ones. I mean, if you look at the plan, which I've attached for you, which is on my representation, you'll see the distance between our property and the clubhouse, which is about 100 metres. It's a black and white print, I'm afraid.
I could assist you here, Chair. Legislation has deregularised the playing of recorded and amplified music
Yes.
where there is already in place an alcohol
I
licence.
understand that.
And that deregulation allows anything up till 2300 in the evening. So anything after that has to be subject to the licence. But anything before
are you
2300 is
all right.
deregulated.
So are you saying that noise, this paragraph I'm referring to, are you saying that that's a load of tosh, that it's not
I'm
relevant?
not saying that at all, sir. I'm just reporting back to the committee and for the benefit of those here, what the legislative position is.
But I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're telling me. Are you telling me that's in contradiction to what's printed?
So basically, anybody who's got a licence can play music outside until 11 o'clock in the evening if they so wish.
Is that right?
That's the law,
That's correct.
regardless of how it affects anybody
That's
else.
correct.
So
Is
that's,
there no limit on decibels to that?
No.
what was that, Sharon? What she said? What you said?
There's no, so basically, anybody who's got an alcohol licence
Yeah.
can have music playing outside until 11 o'clock at any drinking place, any volume that they want.
So can we not ask for conditions to be applied?
No, because that's just the law. If they're allowed to sell alcohol till then, they're allowed to play music until then at any volume they want, which seems ridiculous to me.
If I can bring in our lead officer, thank you.
So just looking at, so as I sort of touched on at the end of the report, legal implications. The Live Music Act 2013 and Legislative Reform Entertainment Licensing Order 2014. Live and recorded music is deregulated, so not licensable, it's deregulated between 0800 hours and 2300 hours on premises authorised to sell alcohol on the premises, subject to a maximum audience of 500 persons. The licensing authority has the power to remove the exemption, but only if and when it carries out a formal review of the premises license. So a review is where a license is granted and there are problems and there's evidence to suggest that that license isn't being managed properly. You can call anyone, any party, anybody, any responsible authority can call a review of the premises, and that will be in a similar format to this, whereby that license would be reviewed and then any appropriate action can be taken by the subcommittee.
Can I just?
And that exemption can only be removed by going through that process.
No, I understand. So does premises refer to the building, or does that refer to the whole of the football club area?
The premise is defined by the plan, which is part of is submitted as Appendix 2, and that is the red line. So that goes around the clubhouse. It's just around the clubhouse and a slight outside area just behind the clubhouse. So that is Appendix 2 of the agenda.
So that'll be on the concrete hard standing that faces our property.
And the speakers
And
outside
the speakers,
that close to the
there's
club.
already tannoy there.
So the speakers
what they
and the
use for
tannoy,
music.
so the speakers and the tannoys for the football matches would be incidental.
No, they use those tannoys for other purposes as well. They're not just used for football.
Okay, in terms of this application,
Yeah.
so if they are looking to have recorded or live music through those speakers, the licensable area is just the red line around the clubhouse and the buildings in that area as a part of Appendix 2.
Right.
They wouldn't be able to have music or any other sort of entertainment outside of that boundary. That boundary is known as the premises.
But if the speakers are on that boundary, they're still going to reach where we are.
So they wouldn't be able to have regulated entertainment out of those speakers But if it's during the day, during a football match, that would be
that's
incidental to the people
different.
being there.
That's totally different.
But in terms of actually having an event, that wouldn't be part of this license because the licensable area is just on that red line.
So they can have speakers within that red line
Yeah.
facing our properties. We have no comeback whatsoever.
If that is the case, you are able to make noise complaints and then that can be reviewed by environmental health, who can then take the necessary action. And as touched on before, you can call a review of the premise. If it is a nuisance, you can then call a review of the licence, and that would be, all evidence would be reviewed at that point.
Thank you. So just for clarification, because where the red line is, as I see it on Appendix 2 in front of me, is there's a red line outside the clubhouse, including that outdoor space. Just to be absolutely certain that yourself, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, live on Smithfield Road. So the outdoor area that is being referred to that is within the red line boundary, where the premises application is for, actually faces the properties on Glanville Road rather than the properties.
No, that's not right. That's not right.
It faces towards, Box Road would be,
Can I show you my plan? And I will show you this is, can I show you that?
Yep, yep.
you've got it wrong.
Overall, someone else is saying.
So the edge of the clubhouse
Yeah,
is not in front of the clubhouse, so it does not.
right, so
cover
they
the area
can't
there.
have speakers on this area.
Not for anything other than the football.
Football,
So
that's,
these outdoor areas are where that would be allowed.
no, that's
Okay.
not outdoor areas, I don't think. I think that's all, you'll find that's all building.
Yeah, that's right. So the areas to the back of the building that face Glanville Road.
There is, yeah, but there's nothing there. That's just blank wall. That's
Yeah.
just a solid wall along there, which your applicant will probably confirm.
Yes, yeah, that's right. But what we're saying is that the music won't go this way, out towards the
Yes.
football pitch,
Of course
correct?
It will, because that's where people are going to be.
Go towards the football pitch.
You can't have music going that way. There's nothing out there.
There's no pipe stand or anything at the back
Sure,
of
sir.
it.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that the way the red line is, and this is more a question for maybe the applicant, and is that the red line is around the building. And so just for clarification, the red line is around the building, and I'm going to call it the front. It faces the pitches.
Yeah.
So actually, any speakers on there that were playing music as part of regulated entertainment would actually not be in the licensed area, and therefore that would be reportable. If it's obviously it's different to it being used for football. That's my understanding.
Yeah, so as long as any entertainment that takes place is within that, so the actual providing of the music is within that red boundary, then that is fine. Anything outside of that, so if there is a party or anything like that and the speakers are where you're sort of suggesting sort of away from that licensable area, then that when it would potentially be a breach, and that's when it would be reportable, and that's when we would investigate it. Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
So just to clarify, is there any case that the objectors would like to make in terms of formal objection?
Well, only what
You can't anyway, because they're allowed to do it.
only what we,
Anyway.
what we've put down in writing are the other things.
Okay, are there any questions to the objectors?
Well, I'd probably think of a few in a minute. If you give me time.
Not you.
We are objectors. Oh, for the objectors.
Councillor Cravis?
For them, not from them. Yeah.
I put my hearing aids in, so I better switch that off. I just get told off.
You take your mic off, I'm allowed, then can put my mic on, good or for bad. So at the moment I've got, and unfortunately I might, if I refer to your complaint or others, but in some of the, well, I think my question is going to be is, have you had, although our licensing officer said there's been no history of complaints, have you had times when you've been affected badly by noise?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
When you say a couple, I mean, is it the occasional couple or is it on a regular?
No, it's on a regular basis. It's every year. Sometimes twice a year. But it's not every week.
No.
And we understand when there's football on, we accept that. They have fun days, we accept that. That's good for the community.
And if we have had the music on first thing in the morning, we usually ring the club and tell them.
Yeah.
Why do we need it on at this time of the
And
day?
it's usually because the cleaners have gone in,
They
switched
switch
the music on.
And
And it's on through the tannoy speakers outside, and of course we get blasted with it. But I mean, to be fair, they have switched it off when we found out if we can get anybody. But we've not had that recently, so they've taken care of that, as far as I know.
Okay. Do the applicants have any questions of the objectors?
No questions, a few observations, but I guess we'll get time for that in a moment.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the objectors?
I have a question, Chair. When you've you mentioned the couple of occasions, have you reported that to anybody?
No, because it's been acceptable. We accept it on the odd occasion when it's their fun day. We accept that's. Somebody got feedback.
I'm speaking.
Right, now I'm switched on. No, they have a fun day. They probably have more than one. We don't object to that. It's good for the community.
And the football we don't.
And the football we don't object to.
Problem.
They have music just before the match and sometimes a bit after. We don't object to that. What we are objecting to is the possibility of uncontrolled noise.
But have there been occasions when you have experienced this uncontrolled noise? So not the fun day and not before the football matches. Have there been such occasions? And if so, what have you done? Have you contacted anybody? Have you contacted the licensing team or the club? And why is that?
We don't object to things like that.
No, I'm talking about incidents of uncontrolled noise. So not the noise emanating from the fun day. So there have been no instances of uncontrolled noise then?
I don't know what you mean by.
We don't know what you mean by that.
Well, let me be simple. You've talked about noise from the fun day, and you've talked about noise just before or during the football matches, and you have said to the subcommittee here that you're happy to put up with that. But have there been other instances, other noise that, so there've been no instances of other noise? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Clovis.
Thank you. Yeah, on that, because obviously I'm looking at the existing hours on the licence. Because of course at the moment the football club actually have a licence up to 2:30 in the morning on a Friday and Saturday, under their current club membership arrangement, and indeed midnight Monday to Thursday, and even 11:30 on a Sunday. Have you not experienced any noise at those times? No,
if it's left with an open license as they've applied for, then it could be. We could get people turning out from pubs and then going up to the football club afterwards. We don't think that's right. But all we're asking for really is for conditions to be put in place to prevent any possible breach at all. And we think that's a sensible route to go down. And as far as I can see, that would probably appease the residents and maybe even appease the football club if we had conditions with reasonable times, which is what we've actually asked for. And we've not been over zealous with our requirements.
Okay, all right. Are there any further questions for the objectors? No. Okay, at risk of repeating myself, there were other objectors who wished to be present but couldn't make it. Okay, their apologies were received, and the subcommittee has read their objections, and we'll take that into account when we make a decision. Finally, if I can call for the applicant to present their case, please.
Sure. So first of all, I'd like to give a bit of context as to why we are here, why we've done a new licence. We've had a big change of management and committee at the football club, in fact, a complete rotation. I took over as director just under a year ago. Holly came in as our bar manager, our club manager, just before Christmas, and we noticed there was quite a lot of flaws in what we were currently doing with the club, one being our licence, which again at the moment only permits members to socialise at the club. That's not what Street Football Club's about. It's a community asset. We're really keen to make it part of the community. Everything we're delivering is for the community and the people of Street. So we want to make sure the club is as accessible as it possibly can be, and it's not restricted just to our members and members of travelling teams. So that was what instigated the change in licence and request for the first licence, the new licence in the first place. Nothing plans to change in the foreseeable. We have enhanced quite a lot of the day activities. You will see we now have gym clubs up there. We have a lot of children up there in the day. In terms of evening entertainment, we use it as a mechanism to generate income, so fundraising and things. We don't expect anything to change. When we applied for the licence, we intentionally did it just for the building because we feel that we can contain that really easily. If we'd applied for a licence that gave us free reins to have live music outside on the pitch every week, it would be harder for us to manage. So we've had this licence just for the building, knowing that now if we want to have live entertainment outside, which we will, we have the fun day, we have a tournament, and we have our end of season presentation, probably the only 3 times. Maybe if we get to the World Cup final, we might do something, but hey, who knows? Let's not get carried away with that. On those occasions, we will apply for a temporary events licence so everybody is fully aware of what we're applying for and what we're looking for. And we'll make sure that the restrictions in that, which are never going to be past midnight, but you'll all be privy to that licence on those temporary submissions that we put in. So I understand there's that risk of, at the moment, we're here and it could change. I hope you take a bit of reassurance that we're here for the longevity. We don't have any connections with the club other than the fact we're local people from the community and want the club to survive and do really well. We plan to be here for the long term, and I'm definitely not going to suddenly start turning it into late night entertainment. It's not the vibe we want. It's not the vision we have for the club. This is about the community, and it's not about bringing in drunk people at midnight who we know previously are really quite hard to manage. It's not the vision that we're looking for up there. So that's where we've landed and that's where we are today. I really hope we get the support of the community and our neighbours because, like I say, ultimately it's your club as much as it is ours, and we want to make sure we work together. And we are happy to listen to sort of any counter proposals that you've got, but our end goal is to make sure that we can operate sustainably. You may or may not know that we don't make much profit up there. What we generate pays to keep the club running, pays to keep the kids playing football up there and the adults playing football up there. We don't have any profit. So we need to make sure the club is as active as it possibly can be within all the hours that the licence permits us. Do you want to add anything to that, Holly?
All I would say is I think we may have, in hindsight, been a bit possibly naive in our times we put forward in regards to the licensing. It would be on the rare occasion that we would have anything on until even 1:30 a.m. And I know that's it's like a threat hanging over the neighbours' area. You know, I wouldn't like it myself, but we're not about having lots of late night activity, lots of nuisance. We've had to work really hard in the last year, probably or less, to try and rein everything in terms of behaviour, what the expectation is of people that are up there. So we by no means want to turn this into a nightclub, somewhere that people can go to after the pubs are kicked out. That's not what we're about. It was, you know, maybe we need to look more at the temporary events licence if we have these few throughout the year, just to put residents' minds at ease. But it was simply I think the threat is, it's easy for me to say, please don't worry, you have nothing to worry about. I know it's not how it comes across, especially when you see it in writing, but we are all about the community. We want Street Football Club to be a place where kids, adults, everyone alike can come and not think it's going to be something that's going on through the night with music blaring loudly. It's not what it's about.
In just reference
Yeah.
to tannoy as well, the tannoy is there for match day. We
Yeah.
use it for announcements. We use it for some pre-match music and afterwards for a very short period of time
Yeah.
just to get the atmosphere
Yeah.
going. I think maybe Holly's out doing our cleaning at the moment. I don't think it's her. I think it's Dad's Army. We have a group
Yeah.
of retired men on a Thursday that go up there to do the grounds. I think it might be then, and we can definitely have a word with them, make sure they're not using the tannoy. It's match days only we use the tannoy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as for the noise complaint that was 10 years ago, that's how we want it to stay. We don't want complaints coming in. We're quite proud of the fact that there's not been lots of complaints that have come through. And ultimately, like we need to work together. So we want it to stay that way and not be causing an issue to anyone that's in the close proximity of the football club. Yeah. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Now I invite questions to the applicants. If our legal advisor, Lou, looks ready to go.
Yes, Chair. You've heard from Mr. Williams and Mrs. Williams about their concerns about noise breakout and interruption. Would the club be prepared to create and submit what we know in the licensing industry as a noise management plan? That noise management plan would set out what the club intends to do in regard to preventing noise breakout, dealing with noise from patrons leaving late at night, all those sort of things. And then that could be submitted to the council for approval. And obviously the council would be wanting to see included in their measures that would deal with the concerns of Mr. Williams, Mrs. Williams, and the other objectors who've lodged representations to this application.
Yeah, sure. So part of the application, we put in some measures around the time when the windows and doors would always be closed and there's any kind of internal entertainment going on. We have certainly thought of other considerations around having named taxis locally to the club, so people are coming in and getting collected from the door rather than streaming out onto the street or into the back roads. So part of this is in the current application, but there are some additional methods we could put in and present to you if that helped.
And ultimately, once that noise management plan has been drafted and subsequently approved, is this something that you would be prepared to share with Mr. Williams and the residents who have concerns about noise?
We would welcome them to work on this plan with us. Yeah, we'd welcome to have input into it so that we can land in a place that is happy and for everybody. I live in the street, but I don't live near the football club, so I can't experience firsthand what it's like. So yeah, so we would welcome them to be involved in and helping us put this together.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should have raised it at the time when Mr. Williams was speaking. Is that something that would assist you, assist to allay your concerns about breakout of noise late at night? If you were able to work with the football club on this noise management plan, which would be effectively a condition of the licence to have one, and it must be approved by the council. Is that something, do you think, that you would engage in and it would help allay your fears?
I thought that was already in place. I thought that was already in the application, the noise management plan. Am I right?
In terms of the measures around keeping the music contained with the closed windows and stuff.
Yeah.
I have to say we're also, we are home of the Neighbourhood Watch as well. So they are with us regularly and
They've had one meeting with you. I was there.
They're scheduled to be with us now regularly. So naturally the chairman comes in, he's at the club quite regularly with us and speaks with us. So we interact as well with what the local residents.
That's not strictly true, and you know it. You know that's a one-off occasion.
John comes up very regularly and sees us, doesn't he?
It may well be, but
Going back to your question, Mr. Williams,
yes.
you thought the noise management plan was part of the application.
I do, yes.
Are you talking about the conditions? We're talking about a specific plan proposed by the club dealing with showing how they intend to deal with noise, possible noise breakout, and measures they're proposing to take. To try and stem noise from patrons leaving the premises, vehicles, etc.
Our main concern is our main concern is the music outside, is noise generated outside the club. On the club premises, it's the noise.
May I ask something? And I might be wrong here, but I thought that what you were asking for was to be allowed to have outside music till 2:30 most days of the week. Is that not what it says? Because that's what I read.
I think you're right, Shane.
That was what I read.
I've only got my application here.
Could we let the applicant clarify, please?
Yeah, so I think we sort of possibly overlooked what we've applied for because we didn't anticipate there being uproar from not uproar, but I mean that respectfully in terms of what the neighbours are going to say. We literally have applied for a licence, so we had the option of when we have those 3 or 4 events throughout the year, that we could play music without the the risk of it going everywhere. Yeah, that's no, and
No,
Yeah.
sorry, Holly, if I could just confirm.
Can I
Please,
just
can I
No.
just clarify?
just to make sure that there's healthy debate, as it were,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
just to clarify.
When you put the license together, it gives you the option about live music. So we have requested live music, but we've clearly labelled on the site map that it's only the building.
Yeah.
So although it said the category is something like indoor and outdoor music, so we ticked that for the indoor music, but we've clearly highlighted that it will only be indoors because we haven't asked for a license outdoors. So essentially the application is we're not asking for any outdoor music in that license. We will
That's
do
not
that.
what-
So
Has somebody got a copy of that then? Because that's
If
not
I
what
could
read.
interrupt there, I'm looking at your actual application. It's page 27 of the agenda papers. This is live music, and you've ticked the box both, so indoors and outdoors.
That's what we object
Yeah,
to.
that's what we're
That is
objecting
what
to.
yeah.
But it
So if you would be
contradicts,
prepared.
it
if you would be
contradicts the
prepared to-
application because we've only actually asked for the building, so not the
Well,
outdoor.
this is the application.
For the application that contradicts itself a little bit there.
If
Well, perhaps,
you've ticked that you maybe
If I
should
can-
untick that.
Thank you. If I can have Councillor Probus come in.
Yeah, thank you. I think, easily done. I suppose you're filling out a form, but for me, looking at it, you've drawn the red line around the building and you haven't got an outdoor area. So you can't have outdoor music because you haven't got one. You haven't got an outdoor, unless you want to knock the building down, then you could have an outdoor, but I don't think that's going to happen.
So the licence wouldn't allow for outdoor music.
That is correct. At this moment, their licence is around the building, not around the football pitches, not in front of the building, it is around the building.
So it's in the
so it's
building.
within the
If you're
brick
happy
of the
with me answering
building.
that one for you, Phil and Leslie. Yep. So.
Just clarify the application as it is, yeah. Okay, yeah, so just to clarify then, the application, so we've got a table within the report here. So what has been applied for is alcohol, Monday to Thursday, 9 AM till midnight, Friday and Saturday, 9 AM till 2 AM, Sunday, 9 AM till 1 AM. Regulated entertainment, so films for 7 days a week, midday until 11 PM. Live music, 7 days a week, 11 AM until 1 AM. Recorded music, 7 days a week, 10 AM to 1 AM. And appreciate it does say indoors and outdoors. However, if we look at the plan is just around the clubhouse. There are some slightly small outside areas behind the clubhouse, but I think as the intentions, if you stated to the applicant, they are not looking to have the music out there anyway. It is just to be within the clubhouse. And then late night refreshment is Monday to Thursday, 11 PM until 1 AM. Friday and Saturday, 11 PM until 2 AM. And then Sunday, 11 PM until 1 AM. That is what they've applied for. The previous license did have music up until 2:30, but this application is actually bringing the hours back. So yeah, so as I've just, so that was Fridays and Saturdays only.
We put microphones on.
Are we saying that music is for indoors
Only.
only? Is that what the application is for?
So the application is for indoors and outdoors. There is a very small section of outdoor area on the plan, but as I've said, that is behind the clubhouse, and I don't think that is the intention of
But
the
do we
application.
know, are we still talking, do we know what is behind the clubhouse and what is referred to as the front of the clubhouse?
I'm referring to behind the clubhouse as what backs onto Glanville Road.
Right,
Yeah, that is.
Well,
beyond,
that's-
but there's
there's
no
nothing there.
requirement for having music.
So that's.
So
that's-
yeah,
so
as
that's
I'm
fine.
saying, but the plan,
The other
looking at
side.
Appendix 2, there is a red line that
Yeah.
goes around the clubhouse
Brilliant.
buildings, and there's 2 sections that are outside. So the licensors say indoors and outdoors, they could put music out there, but it wouldn't be practical,
No.
and they've said that's not their intentions.
He was in, but he's now gone.
Sorry? Somebody,
That's someone online. Hang on.
somebody said something.
Ah,
Chair,
right,
if I
that
could-
one then.
I could put to the applicant, would you be prepared to, in the light of the discussion we've had this afternoon, about the plan and the, you know, the entertainment from within the building, a question to the applicant, would you be prepared to amend your application so that in box E, which is live music, and box F, which is recorded music, where you have ticked both, you revise it now to tick just indoors?
Yes, she would.
Yeah.
Councillor Cravis.
Thank you, Connor. Councillor Payne. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your presentation. And what I like about this is turned into a real roundtable discussion, which is how they should be done, these hearings. So well done to everyone. I am still trying to figure out what music the Dad's Army lot are playing there. And now I've got that song going around my head. And I think my question was, I think you probably touched on it when you said you were maybe a bit naive when you were ticking the boxes on the form, because if you've got, and I look at your existing hours, and actually your existing hours till, yeah, are actually quite, I don't want to use the word, they're quite late, aren't they? 2:30, your existing hours. And obviously you've knocked them down a bit. So, and I can understand you wanting the flexibility, because you don't want to be applying for a 10's notice every 2 minutes just to have something in a building. So I can understand that. And I can understand what you're saying about you operate, how you want to take the club forward, and that you got new directors and everything else. But you also touched on something, is that we've got to bear in mind that you may be here now, but football clubs aren't necessarily the most stable things in the world, especially local small football clubs, where it's all volunteers and, you know, no big shareholders, etc. But so I can understand why you've done that, and you've knocked it back. But do you, I mean, I assume your part of your operating schedule is you're not planning on being open every Saturday night till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's gone, Holly.
I know, I was going to say, as it currently stands, we call last orders at 11, even though the licence we've applied for goes way beyond that. It's been a real hard effort to call last orders at 11. Everyone tends to leave by about half 11 by 12 o'clock. Everyone's out and the staff leave. And that is how it will always run forward, unless there's a significant event on. I mean, but other than that, that's how we plan to go. It's just the case of having to go for, like you said, a 10 every time there's an event on. It's a lot of work. It might get, you know, we might not get the opportunity to have it. So that was more why we did it. We've been quite lighthearted with it, not realising the impact it could cause, essentially. So yeah, we're aware of that. But yeah, that's how we work, and that's how we plan to continue operating.
And of course, you're fully aware that if, for instance, I don't know, England did, you know, if we can, let me go first. If England aren't going to win the US, but if you did end up making, you know, a ridiculous amount of noise at 1:45 on a Sunday morning, that you'd be, you know, the residents and would probably complain to EHR and probably everybody else, and then actually you could have a license review and have those hours not back and lose that flexibility. So it's in your interests, just if you do agree to, you know, if a condition was a noise management plan, to stick to it.
I think
Yeah.
what sort of Holly was trying to explain is that the club probably previously, we've been quite fortunate that there hasn't been many complaints, that it hasn't operated as it should have done before, and we just really want to bring it and tidy it all up and make sure, you know, there's no danger of any antisocial behaviour or anything like that. So we are very rigid. We used to operate purely on volunteers at there in terms of our staff, which is really hard to monitor, because you only have a certain amount of sort of jurisdiction over people when they're doing things for free. All our bar staff up there now are employed by us, which means they're on a contract, which means they've all adhered to the correct training in terms of under 18 drinking, how we report it, how we deal with it. CCTV is all in operation. They all know how to access it, monitor it if we need to. So whereas before we've not been so rigid, now we're in a position where everybody is employed to work there, and they're all trained. Holly oversees all their training in the kitchen because obviously a kitchen outlet as well as the bar. So we're pretty on it up there. Or Holly's pretty on it up there.
And a question?
Can I just clarify one point? Is it the club's intent? Can I address the club rather than go through you? Is that not allowed? Is it your intention now to alter your application so that you're not having outside music? Am I reading that correctly? Yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I think we do just need to, we do have like the very few events.
What I was going to say was, and I'm speaking purely personally here, if you do that, I don't see why you can't have your fun day or whatever day you like to, your sport event days. Do you still need to apply for a special license for that? Because I think that's something that could be written in so that you don't need to have a special license for that. Because I think that's a fair way of doing it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so what we would have to do is apply for a temporary event license. This was something we did discuss because A, there's a fee for when you apply for one, and two, we have employed staff, but Holly and I are volunteers, and so it's just more admin for us to have to do to make sure we're completely compliant. So it wasn't our preferred choice to have to submit temporary event license, but we felt it was probably the fairest thing for us to do. If we could put it into the agreement that we could have 3 events a year, which would be our fun day, our tournament, and our end of season presentation, where we were allowed that would be amazing. But we also understand that we may have to do the temporary event licenses.
Yeah. I mean, that would be music to our ears.
That would be brilliant. Yeah.
If I just jump in there, that wouldn't be possible to have the outside area because, as I touched on, the plan is restricted to the clubhouse. So as the plan, so I appreciate the plan, but the plan is known as the premises as well. That red line creates the premises, and that is just the clubhouse. So I appreciate the idea, but it would still be a temporary event notice that is needed.
So yeah, we would, for each event coming up, we'd need to apply for the Thames.
Every event that you look to have that goes outside of your licensable area or your licensed hours, that would be a temporary event notice.
No, as long as we're clear, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
and we're not breaking any laws. That's good. Okay.
One point. In view of that, perhaps the council might be able to give you a grant towards the cost of applying for those licenses, but they have grants available. So just a thought. Thank you.
Are there any further questions for the applicant? Councillor Coles? No further questions in that case. So
the reason you're actually asking for all these later hours is not because you're going to use them. It's just that you don't, because I have a fear, as everybody else, that once the pub's shut, all the football clubs open, let's go up there. How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen?
That was never been our plan. It was simply because we were trying to avoid having, as we've just said, trying to avoid going for the 10s for every time we had an event. We now know we can't do that, so it's a case of we need to reel it back in and apply and pay every time for the few events we have throughout the year. We're never going to be that place where everyone can come for an all-nighter or a lock-in. That is so far from where Street Football Club is now.
How can you can't guarantee that?
We can't, especially as it's been pointed out a few times with different staff change and management changes. Absolutely. So our thing is, if we need to pull the hours back, we will, because it's no use to us other than causing distress to you guys. We still need to apply for the 10s for the few events that we'll have, which may go on later into the evening. So we sort of know. I feel like we know where we stand now. It's a lot clearer. I don't know if you feel the same, but that's sort of how it has come across. We're gonna have to cut things back a bit and still apply.
So you're saying you would bring your hours back during the week and that as well?
Yeah, but I think in the weekdays.
It's just a bit challenging during the week because we host Starts and Skittles, and Skittles doesn't even start till 8:30, so we have to save until midnight to allow them to finish. But we certainly
have to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Have to.
They're going to be
half past 2.
Yeah.
Midnight is different from 2:30.
Yeah.
And it's for me, all right, you're doing it now, you're running it now. Next week somebody else could be in there.
Yeah.
Somebody else could take over, and they go, oh, you've got a license till 2:30 every day. Great.
Was that one of the objections that came in, was about the times during the week?
Was so appendix. Yeah, so there was also, so that is appendix. it's been stapled, so I can't see the effect yet. We will. Appendix 5, Part 8, page 55, which is from Mr. Williams and Mrs. Williams. That was about late opening hours, and there were sort of suggestions as well as to how to deal with that proposed conditions. So yeah, that was one of the. Yes. Are there? I know.
I think I'm probably okay.
Councillor Crowes is.
Sorry, forgive me if I've misunderstood your timings. The suggestion from Mr. and Mrs. Williams on page 55 of our pack was that Sunday to Thursday it was 23:30. The ladies from the club have just explained that on Skittles night, because it doesn't start till 8:30, they need to allow it to finish at midnight. So I appreciate we're talking about half an hour, but if we're going to do this, we need to just tie those times up so everybody knows exactly where they are, because as listed here, that's not quite what we've been discussing. So I don't want there to be anybody going, hang on a minute, that's not what we were talking about. So I'm going to go back to the applicants and confirm that you're happy if Sunday to Thursday is a midnight finish to allow you to have your Skittles nights finished starting at 8:30 but not finishing till midnight.
We would rather extend it from midnight just to allow us that flexibility.
That gives you that bit of leeway. Is that sufficient for your purposes?
9 times out of 10 it will be, but what I worry now is that we're going to make ourselves so tight on times that we're likely to be caught out here. I don't think there's any Skittle weekdays is very quiet. It's, people drive in and out, they don't walk in, they go drunk. We don't need 2:30, I get that, but I don't really want to bring it forward to midnight. That leaves us no scope for flexibility, no room for error at all, which makes me a little bit nervous.
I thought we were almost there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Cravis, but
I think we almost are there, actually, prejudging any decision. No, I think what you've actually applied for is till midnight on Monday to Thursday. I think obviously you've got Sunday, you've got 1 o'clock, but obviously Sunday, it's very unlikely you're going to be open until 1 o'clock for even someone's birthday on a Sunday, unless it's a bank holiday. Again, so that would be 1 o'clock. And actually, I noticed that your recorded music, it is 1 o'clock as well on there. I think we probably clarified everything else that you need. You'd only obviously need a 10's notice if you decided you were going to have, I don't know, Def Leppard on the football pitch. That Def Leppard is a band for those who are maybe a little bit younger than some of us. So just so we got that clarity sorted out as well.
Are you saying that the hours they've applied for are okay? Because
we can certainly revise and sort of assess that. Yeah. And that's we'll take that into consideration.
This is in the middle of a residential area.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair.
Yeah. So when we come to a decision, we'll take all of this into consideration. Maybe offer some revision on the application, and we'll feed that back.
My application did have time thing on it as well. I think you said that Mr. and Mrs. Williams was the only one, but mine had a time.
Yeah, there's a few, but that was just one I sort of drew out. As a clear one.
I think we were thinking that was the only.
No. They've got a few in front of me, but I just wanted to draw on sort of one.
People that were here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so can I just clarify? There are no further questions from anyone to anyone.
Okay.
We are content. Okay, so does the licensing officer have any further information to propose?
Is this the summing up part? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Decision-making process. The subcommittee must consider this application on its own merits and from the information contained within the application and this report. Members are reminded that the duty of the licensing authority is to take steps necessary to promote the licensing objectives in the interest of the wider community. The licensing objectives as follows: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children from harm. In its decision-making process, the licensing subcommittee must have regard to the Licensing Act 2003 and subsequent amendments, the statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, Somerset Council Statement of Licensing Policy, the policies available on request and from the Somerset Council website, and the options available to the committee are as follows. Grant the application with no modifications and only attach conditions as required by the 2003 Act. These shall include mandatory conditions and conditions consistent with the operating schedule. Grant the application modified to such an extent as the licensing authority considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, or to refuse the application, giving reasons for its decision. Should the committee be mindful to attach conditions to the licence, they must only do so if they are appropriate, necessary and proportionate, precise, clear and unambiguous, practical, realistic and enforceable, non-duplicative of existing statutory requirements or offences, modern and fit for purpose, and consideration must also be given to the number of conditions being attached. The licensing authority recognises that most licence holders seek to follow the law, and any enforcement action will normally follow a graduated approach, and in the first instance will include education and support. Where licence holders continue to flout the law or act irresponsibly, firm action will be taken. Right of appeal. All relevant parties to the decision of the licensing authority have the right to appeal to magistrates' courts in connection with this matter. This must be done within 21 days of being notified in writing of the relevant decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, so can I ask the objectors to please sum up your case, if that's okay?
Thank you, Sharon. I think we've laid out our objections fairly clearly. I don't think we've left any room for ambiguity, and I'm hoping that the club will go forward with what they've agreed to with you in regards of outside events. Other than that, I think I'm happy.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
gone well.
yeah, good meeting.
I'd like to see the weekday hours brought in a bit.
Okay, thank you very much. There are no responsible authorities. Can the applicant sum up, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we just like to say that when we took on this role a year ago, it's because the football club was going into administration and was going to close and likely to be a housing estate up there. So we've taken it upon ourselves for no personal gain at all to make this a really thriving part of the community. We want it for everybody to enjoy. It's a time where there's a little opportunity for youngsters to come, to hang out, to go, to keep them off the streets. We all know where we are in terms of county lines on the edge of Somerset here. And this is such a valuable asset without us being able to have a licence that enables us to generate income just to keep it running. That's all we do, is just generate enough money to keep it running. We really do hope that we get support from everybody to allow us to run this as a traditional football club, heartbeat of the community, which is giving people a safe place to go and hang out and ultimately enjoy.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, we hope we're not a nuisance. If there has been things in the past, we're pushing forward for it to continue as it is. Like, we don't want any issues with anyone. We just want to work in partnership. So and we'll do what we can. We need to work together, essentially. We're not working against anyone. We want to work together. Yeah. And these things can be rescinded, can't they? They can be changed. So, we just need to have the opportunity to prove ourselves, and hopefully we won't receive complaints, but you can if you need to. You won't, hopefully, but we just want to work together. We don't want to cause uproar. We want Street Football Club to be the place where everyone wants to come, and not see it as a nuisance. So
we also worry about the future. We want it to be a football club. We don't want it to be a housing estate or anything else. So we really worry about the future.
Or a nightclub.
Or a nightclub. Hence the reason we want to be able to get a licence that allows us to be sustainable up there. So gone are the days for investment from Clark's, unfortunately.
We're happy with what's happened with that, because that's not going to be an issue, which was our main concern, to be fair. But obviously there is still a slight concern of the late opening hours, especially during the week. That's where people are going to go. And I understand what you're saying completely, but I just don't see the need for it to be open up until 2 o'clock or whatever.
I think just for a bit of reassurance,
Equivalent,
we've
yeah.
had those
Yeah.
timings for a long time and nobody's
Yeah.
ever come up, so I can't see them suddenly.
How long does a
decide-
licence last? When you get a licence, how long does it
A
last?
licence is granted for perpetuity, so it doesn't expire unless it's defined on the licence.
Okay.
You can apply for. Through you, Chair. Obviously, members of the public can apply for a review through the channels if you feel that they are not sticking to their licensed objectives. But those timings are when it's set, unless there is a breach. And then, well, I think
we've established that.
I think we're
We've
past
established
that.
that.
And we just need to think about the flexibility because of Skiffle Nights being a later start. We will go away and consider what we feel is reasonable, but you always have the opportunity to ask for a review of the licence. You will need to provide evidence to do that. You can't just say, I want to review the licence. You'd have to have reasonable reasons for doing that, but it is a route available to members of the public.
Okay,
Quite.
right. Thank you very much. I'm going to leave it there. So I'm closing this hearing. We will now go away to make a decision about this application.